Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with another action figure review. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Time for AEW Dynamite on TNT. Beach Break, the Royal Rumble, and even the Super Bowl have all concluded, and we're back to what I guess you would call a normal schedule. As such, I'll admit the card looks rather average on paper, so let's hope AEW doesn't kill their recent momentum with a filler episode. But first, if you're new here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more pro wrestling and action figure content. Now, we're headed into my custom dailies place, so for a recap and review, let's take it over to the action figures. Dynamite opens in typical explosive fashion with the TNT Championship match between old foes from the hardcore indie scene, Darby Allin and the bad boy Joey Janela. The champ comes out with different face paint than normal, which exposes more of his face while covering part of his chest instead. Despite both men's reputations, they start off by showcasing their technical skills, but it's not long before they're flying around with reckless abandon. Janela controls most of the match, but keeps showboating and getting distracted by the title belt at ringside. Eventually, Darby takes advantage of Joey's arrogance, reverses a top rope suplex into an avalanche powerbomb, and finishes him off with a coffin drop to retain his TNT title. Jon Moxley knows that Kenta's been running around New Japan for months now with his stupid little briefcase, so he's not surprised at what happened last week. Still, unlike Kenny, Mox knows this doesn't have anything to do with Bullet Club. It's all about his IWGP United States Championship. He and Kenta will settle that on February 26th, but that'll be in a sanctioned match. Tonight is no DQ, and it's gonna be just for fun. Sammy Guevara finds the Inner Circle, minus Jericho, in their dressing room and asks for a minute alone with MJF. He says it's obvious that Max is trying to take over the group. MJF laughs it off and says at first he thought Sammy was just jealous. After all, he was always Jericho's favorite, but then MJF arrived and suddenly he was the new favorite. However, now MJF thinks Sammy hates playing second fiddle to Jericho, and it's actually him who's trying to take over the Inner Circle. When Sammy sarcastically repeats this accusation, MJF reveals that he's been recording their whole conversation, so Sammy smashes MJF's phone against the wall and punches him in the ribs. Arn Anderson's son, Brock, is at ringside to watch Cody and Lee Johnson take on Pretty Peter Avalon and his new tag team partner, the massive Cesar Bononi. Despite consistently impressive performances, including here, Johnson has yet to win a match in AEW. However, after a short contest, Peter Avalon goes for the Martinis, a double knee strike, only for Johnson to roll him up and secure his first victory. Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall come out to help celebrate. Lee claims he went 0-29 over the past year and credits the Rhodes family for the win. Dasha is backstage with the Young Bucks and asks about last week's Battle Royale. They blame their elimination on the Good Brothers just as they walk by. Matt scolds them for screwing things up because they were gonna pick Gallows and Anderson if they won. Anderson claims they were just messing with Private Party. And besides, Santana and Ortiz were the ones who eliminated the Bucks. Matt sees their point and says they're so pissed off they don't want to wait until Revolution, so they're going to defend their titles against Proud and Powerful next week on Dynamite. After some commercials, Dasha is back, this time with Hangman Adam Page. He denies forming a new tag team with Matt Hardy, but does accept Big Money Matt's offer to celebrate last week's victory at his private bar with free drinks. As Page goes to grab his stuff, he runs into the Dark Order. In a scene straight out of a romantic comedy, he awkwardly exchanges pleasantries with John Silver, then runs off. Next, the Bastard Pac takes on the Hollywood hunk Ryan Nemeth, who's the real-life brother of Dolph Ziggler, hence the figure. Pac dominates a very short match, hitting the Black Arrow and transitioning into the Brutalizer for the tap-out victory. We get a video recap of Kip and Penelope's disastrous wedding, along with commentary from Miro. He's disappointed in Chuck, but blames Orange Cassidy. So he's coming for the freshly squeezed one and plans to put him in the hospital right next to Trent. Before their match, MJF tells Chris Jericho about getting sucker punched by Sammy earlier. His ribs are taped up as if he's injured, but they head to the ring anyway. Jericho and MJF are taking on the Acclaimed after the cocky upstarts interrupted the Inner Circle's entrance last week. They reference that in their freestyle rap. At one point, Santana tries to interfere and gets decked by Anthony Bowens. While Ref Aubrey deals with that, Max Caster hits Jericho with his boombox, but Jericho kicks out. They go for the Acclaimed to fame, but Bowens misses, allowing Jake Hager to knock Max off the top rope. Jericho nails the Judas effect and picks up the win. All of a sudden, Sammy Guevara's music plays. He comes out and reminds Chris that on December 9th, 2020, he warned that if one more thing happened with MJF, he'd be done. So he's out here to say he quits the Inner Circle. With that, he pushes Jericho aside and walks out of the babyface tunnel, completing his turn. Alex Marvez catches Sammy in the parking lot. Guevara says he's over this, and needs to take some time away to refocus. I wonder what that means. We find Matt Hardy and Adam Page at the bar. As Hangman tosses back some drinks, Matt secretly tosses his aside. Once Page is sufficiently lubricated though, Hardy puts on the hard sell. For only his customary 30%, he promises to make Hangman a billionaire. All he has to do is sign. While Matt whispers to the camera about his plan, Page secretly swaps out the contract. Then, with a drunken smile on his face, Hangman says screw it and signs. For once, it looks like somebody might have gotten the better of Big Money Matt. In what's become a weekly segment, Tony Schiavone tries to interview Sting. He asks what's going through the Icon's mind heading into his street fight against Team Taz. Speak of the devil, Taz interrupts from the parking lot. Apparently his goons kidnapped Darby Allin and shoved him in a body bag tied to the back of their SUV. Starks and Cage zip it up, then drive off with the TNT Champion dragging behind them. Alex Marvez finds Kenny Omega out playing golf. Kenny hits it out of the sand trap while explaining that he's confident about tonight, and this is how he relaxes before big matches. In the background, Don Callis places Kenny's ball in the hole and claims it's another eagle. They give the ball to Marvez as a souvenir and leave him stranded. In the first round of the Women's Eliminator Tournament, Russia's legit Layla Hirsch takes on Mexico's Thunder Rosa. Between the Japanese division and all these international competitors, this feels more like a World Cup than a number one contenders tournament, although that's exactly what makes it so cool, so I'm not complaining. Thunder Rosa cuts a great promo beforehand, saying she's coming for Sheeta's AEW Championship and Serena Deeb's NWA Championship. Then, she's gonna beat up Britt Baker for good measure. Don't get me wrong, I love her, but it's not a good sign for the division if one woman is the key player in literally every feud. Looking at you, WWE and Charlotte Flair. Rosa wins with the modified Tiger Driver in a good but short TV match. Tony Schiavone is back with Jungle Boy to discuss FTR kidnapping Marco Stunt last week. He speaks directly into the camera and says that he beat Dax, making him tap out in front of the world. So no, Jurassic Express didn't tell on FTR and get them suspended. In fact, Jungle Boy wants to make Dax Harwood his bitch. In our main event, we may be witnessing the first cracks in the Forbidden Door as New Japan's KENTA teams with AEW Champion Kenny Omega to take on Lance Archer and the IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley in a no DQ, Falls Count Anywhere match. KENTA comes out with his briefcase, which basically works like the Money in the Bank briefcase. Kenny comes out to his usual entrance. I won't recap all the fun facts, but my favorite was that his biggest WTF moment ever came at a Wild Wing Cafe in North Carolina. At the start, KENTA bashes Lance Archer across the spine with his briefcase, but the monster just shrugs it off. Omega puts down Moxley, then does an incredible moonsault with a trash can onto him. KENTA follows that up with a dropkick using the same trash can. They brawl into the crowd area, where KENTA finds Peter Avalon lounging on a heart-shaped bed. This seems to annoy KENTA because he gives Peter a GTS, while Archer puts Omega through the bed and attempts a pin. Cameras follow Mox and Kenta back into the kitchen area, where Excalibur forgets the word table for some reason. Kenta locks in a submission hold, but gets clobbered from behind by Archer and a box of potatoes. Kenny arrives and takes out Lance, so Moxley hits him with a literal potato punch. Back in the ring, Moxley finds a kendo stick and uses it to wear out Omega until he hits a V-trigger off the top rope. Kenta and Archer also return from the kitchen and battle over to the commentary desk. Lance tries a powerbomb, but Kenta reverses it and delivers a diving double foot stomp onto a prone Moxley lying on the timekeeper's table below. Archer shifts his attention to Kenny, but just as he's about to hit the blackout, the Good Brothers try to make the save. They're no match for the Murder Hawk monster though, nor is Kenta and his spinning back fists. Archer is eventually taken out by Carl Anderson, who catches a short arm clothesline from Jake Roberts, only for him to get taken out by Luke Gallows. Kenny lines up for a V-trigger on Jake when Moxley rushes in with his trusty barbed wire baseball bat. It's super effective until Kenta hits him with a GTS. The Good Brothers follow that up with a magic killer on Archer. Kenny hilariously tries to pick up Archer for the One-Wing Angel, but can't, so the Good Brothers have to help. They manage to do it, and Omega gets the victory in typical dastardly fashion. That main event was insane. It set up so much, not just for AEW, but for Impact and New Japan as well. It's one thing to say you're gonna do invasion angles and work with other promotions. It's a totally different beast to actually put it all together in a coherent and engaging story that pulls in all the fan bases while simultaneously attracting new eyes to the product. Plus, all those hardcore spots were really cool. I don't know if AEW can save pro wrestling, but if there's one company who can, it's them. Well, that'll teach me to doubt AEW. Even their mediocre cards turn out to be awesome. They're seriously at the point where they can do no wrong. Although I was somewhat disappointed by the in-ring action this week, there was so much character development and storyline advancement that I don't really care. The only thing that prevents this show from being mind-blowing is the unrealistically high standards that AEW has set for themselves with their recent specials. Otherwise, it'd be perfect. Alright, that'll do it for AEW Dynamite on TNT. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'll be back on Saturday with my NXT TakeOver predictions, then again next Thursday with my action figure review of Dynamite. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter at PSUOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen my most recent unboxing video, you can check that out right here. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.